Hi, Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, and I've got one of my best friends in the car business, one of the top super performers in the country, Mike Davenport, the Louisville Chevy Dude. Hello, Mike.
Hey, Jim.
Oh, man. How's your month going, big guy?
It's cold, but it's going good.
Now, Mike, you generally sell 30, 40 cars a month. Is that the real number?
Yeah, in the 30s. I sold 37 and a half last month.
Okay, and that's all local sales, right?
No, that's all over the country.
I might have known the answer to that question.
Oh, hey, by the way, I have not posted on your Facebook wall because I want to say it in person right to your face. Happy birthday.
If I'd have known I was going to get this old, I'd have taken better care of myself.
How old are you now?
71.
71. See, I was doing a Facebook Live event Friday night. I think I was doing it Saturday night, something like that. And I mentioned you, and I'm like, I don't know how old he is. I said he's like 132, 133, somewhere in that range, something like that.
I'm immortal. I have no intention to die or get out of the business. There's a bunch of some young consultant said, "Will you get out of the way and make room for the rest of us?"
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure that list is nonstop.
It's crazy. Now, what do you attribute your success for? I mean, did everybody in your dealership sell 30 cars a month? I mean, is it?
No, I don't have the number in front of me, but the closest person was at 21 or 22 last month. And it really what contributes, and this answer too, is that it all comes back from social media. All my Facebook, all my YouTube's really is what got me like off the charts, because YouTube is where I can sit there and broadcast for free. I can sit there and say whatever I want. I can do whatever I want. And then I utilize Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat as a backdoor tool to communicate with those people much easier, much quicker, and get more notifications and engage with them more. That's how I've done it. That's really why I have this fan page that I've got and stuff like that.
Well, I've been watching you and your mastery of social media, your self-branding. You and I met sort of. I get a call one night, and it must have been like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. It wasn't too late. And one of my friends said, "Ziegler, this guy on Facebook's bashing you. He says you're a has-been. You and Grant Cardone are washed up." And so I called Grant Cardone. I said, "Grant, we got some asshole bashing us," and it turned out to be you.
Yeah. That's how we became best friends. I mean, it's amazing on what one post can do, and you become best friends.
I had to go find out what the heck's going on here, and then you and I did become best friends, and I found out you're the real deal. There's so many social media heroes out there that haven't got the credentials or the creds to back it up.
And I've told this before, because it always, when we're together, it always seems like that story comes up, which is hilarious. I love it. But I think the biggest thing is that a lot of what Mike Davenport is, stuff like that. That showed, as much as I had a weak moment, that showed a lot that, okay, how do I react to this situation that everybody's attacking me? I mean, I found out really the Cardone Alpha Dog, what the backbone is, what the network they have is. I had a choice. I could sit there and do absolutely nothing. I could defend my comments, or I can put my tail between my legs and say, "Hey, I had a weak moment," and apologize, that's the route that I win, and learn from, and most importantly, learn from the moment, how big social media is, and actually doing that propelled what I've done, because it just showed me in intellect what the social media can do for you, good and or bad. So now I was like, okay, now I'm going to make sure I focus on all this good stuff.
That's what I love about Mike Davenport. You are a social media beast. I mean, you're boosting posts. You're doing pay-per-clicks. Dark posts. What are you doing?
Yeah, if you look up, I just posted this the other day or yesterday. If you Google Louisville Chevy Dude, you'll find a a Google listing for Louisville Chevy Dude, and and you probably don't need to do this, but I knew what I was doing, and the dealership finally found out about 18, 19, 20 months after I did it, and they made me permanently close it because it interacts with their Google listing because of the address and stuff like that. They haven't found my Yelp page yet, but you know, it's all about, you know, just trying to go out there and do everything I can, and I hustle, and you know, but it all comes back to, you know, how you treat customers, you know, the amount of work you put into it, and knowing your trade. You know, if you can sit there and put all this work into it, but if you're unwilling to know the product and know how to close deals and know how to interact with people and understand technology and understand computers and email and stuff like that, none of that stuff means anything to anybody, because you know, you can't do it, and that's not the way they want to communicate. I have people who want to communicate through email. I have people who want to, which is my preferred method, text message. But I have people who direct message me through Facebook Messenger. I've sold cars through Snapchat Messenger, you know, Snapchatting, showing vehicles. I mean, whatever way their communication is, I'm involved with that social media outlet, and I'm engaged, and I'm good to go. And that's the biggest thing, I think, is that I'm involved with all these stupid social media things. And I tell people all the time, I would not be involved with social media if it wasn't for car sales. So
really,
you know, I wouldn't be. I have no desire. I don't get on social media and look at a lot of what people are eating or traveling or stuff like that. I get into groups and I try to learn, and I see what people are doing, and can I learn from something? Because there's so many smart people in the automotive industry, and just even outside the automotive industry doing things that I try to learn from and try to, you know, propel myself up. But it all comes down to, that's the reason I'm on social media, is to promote my business, promote myself, sell cars, and to learn. That's what I use it for.
Well, you know, I didn't learn technology till after I was out of the retail side of things. We didn't have technology. I mean, my CRM was a Rolodex and a 10 key.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm actually the last 3 months I've been looking at a new CRM, because I keep my own CRM, and I've been looking at changing my own CRM, and I'm in the process. I'm probably going to commit today. I just got off the phone with them right before I was talking to you here. But, you know, I'm always looking at stuff like that. And it's amazing on what these CRMs can do now when you have your own access. And, you know, I keep my own customer database so that I can follow up with birthdays. You know, they email me directly. They understand that, you know, that I'm always involved with them. So, you know, that the technology is out there, but you have to embrace it. And, you know, here you are 71 years old, and you're willing to embrace it. And you just moved to Florida. You're surrounded by thousands and thousands of people your age, probably a whole lot older. And there's probably less than 0.5% of people in your community that could do Facebook Live. No,
and not just that. It's like I got 100,000 friends and followers on social media. 100, and they're, see, what people don't understand, you as a car guy get it. They're relevant people. Yep. You know, you can get a whole bunch of people from India and China to like you on Twitter, and you've achieved nothing. I've got relevant people, and that's one thing I tell car salespeople: pursue a relevant following. People that, you know, my Facebook pages make like $35,000 a month.
Right. Yeah, that's what I do too. And, you know, I've been doing this over the last couple of years. Is I go out there, and if you watch my YouTube videos, I'm like, hey, if you want this for free, click this link. And when you click that link, I get your name, I get your email address, I get your phone number, and then I give you what I told you I'd promise you for. And voila, somebody brought this up to me the other day. I couldn't believe that somebody actually is catching on to what I'm doing. But they're like, how many ZR1s allocations have you had on Corvette ZR1s? $140,000 car. They're selling for $10,000 over sticker, and I'm not selling them for over sticker. I'm selling them for MSRP. And, you know, they're like, how many of you got sold? I said, I've got them all sold. Well, how'd you do that? Well, I know how to build list. And then when I build list, I email out, it's like, who's ready to buy a ZR1? I can take your order right now. And lo and behold, I'm like, hello? Okay, I'll get your order done. Hello, $5,000, no problem. Boom, boom, boom. And that's
Mike, when you stand out under the tree catching ups and smoking with the other guys, how do you do all this?
Well, you know, I smoke a lot. You know, I'm a chain smoker. No, you know, I stay away from that stuff. And when I got into the car business, and I've talked about it the last couple of days, of 18 years in the car business now, which is amazing to me that I would be in the car business for 18 years. But I was taught early on is not get involved with that stuff. And you see, here's the normality that I see in Mike Davenport's eyes with people in the car business. They smoke, they do drugs, they have bad health. They're taking drugs to do that health. And I was like, I don't want to be part of that. I want to be something different. And I'm not saying that's the norm. I said norm, but that's what you see a lot of, and what you hear a lot of is that stuff. And it's like, I don't want to be a part of that. So I've never gotten to the groups. I've never smoked. I don't do drugs. I don't do anything goofy. I just go out and hustle and grind because, back in 2000, I've kind of posted it out on my YouTube video that went live last night that's doing really, really well, that, I grew up in poverty. I didn't have 2 nickels to rub together. When I was 18, I was riding a bicycle in 6 or 7 inches of snow to get to Pizza Hut so I could make a living, and making $400 or $500 a week. That's all I was making, before taxes, and I had my own apartment, but no transportation and all that stuff. And I think it's harder. And you probably can agree with me as well. I think it's harder from when I was 18 to when now my kids are 18. I think it's a lot harder for them, if they didn't have the advantages of having dad work his ass off and have insurance and have their own car. I mean, I sell cars to people who are 21 and 22 years old, and they haven't had insurance. And I'm scared that my car deal is going to unwind because they're going to find out how much insurance is. If it's $600 a month, that they're like, oh crap, I don't have a deal now because they didn't do the right thing up front to get insurance. So it's just interesting where it came from. And we were talking before the broadcast of your Corvette and stuff like that. What's insurance, back in the 70s on cars, it was nothing to, get 16, 17 years old and 18 years old and just go out and get insurance. And it costs $30 or $40 a month, I would presume. I don't know, but
my first Dodge, and the Dodge Super Bee was $3,200 drive out.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was brand new. That was incredible.
Amazing.
I've been in business 42 years, and I talk about I was a record-setting car guy, but all the records I set were in F&I. I was a good salesman. I sold 30 cars many months, and 30 cars was more of a rarity then than it is now because technology has expanded the ability to do that. I always thought of my ability to be a prospector.
Yeah.
I can create a sale anywhere. And I teach people that, and they're amazed. I walk out of a dealership at 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll come back with a buyer that'll take delivery before the sun sets. And I see a lot of that in you.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you, what percentage of your sales are Corvettes?
Maybe around the 20% range. I sold well, no, maybe a little bit more than that. Yeah, I sold 80 Corvettes last year, and I sold just north of 300 cars total, new and used combined. So 80, yeah, about a third, about almost just shy of a third.
Now, I would dare say most Chevy salesmen don't sell 1/3 of their sales in Corvettes.
Yeah, no. Again, I said this the other day, but I'm very, very cautious of saying this. But there's Louisville market is a very, very tough market. There's 21 Chevy dealers within 50 miles of where I'm studying right now inside the Chevy showroom, and we have a town of Louisville of 1.1 million people. I've
worked a lot in Louisville.
Yeah, you have. So Oxmoor and stuff like that. So if you drive northeast by 90 minutes and go to Cincinnati, where I love Jeff Weiler. Jeff Weiler's a phenomenal group. Where they got Eastgate Chevrolet and all that other stuff up there. There's 2.2 million people in Cincinnati, Ohio, and there's 18 Chevy dealerships. So you're telling me there's 21 in Louisville with 1.1, and with the same 50-mile radius of Eastgate Chevrolet, there is like 18 or 19. That's
juggernauts there like Weiler.
Yes. So, but we see the monthly sales report, and my boss brought this up to me, and I don't ever look at the monthly sales report. I always just look at my stuff. And he says, dude, you sold this many new cars last month, and you outsold most of the Chevy dealerships in Louisville, Kentucky last month by yourself. So I'm like, are you kidding me? I said, wow. I said, that's crazy. I never looked at that. And I say that is kind of a joking thing, but I don't say it as an egotistical thing or narcissistic thing, because there's so many people out there who are better than me. And I think you hit the nail on the head a second ago. 30 cars nowadays is impressive, but there's so many people doing it. When you get up to 50 and 60, that's when I think it starts getting impressive. If you can consistently do 50, 60 cars a month, that's the impressive part.
Mike, I know 40 salespeople easily that make north of 40,000 a month.
Oh yeah.
I know 40 salespeople making more. A salesperson making more than 40,000 a month after month, and that kind of money is incredible. What I hate is to hear a 40-car salesperson that didn't make any money. Right. If a lot of those guys out there.
Yep. You have to work your pay plan. 2010, I decided to get out of management. There was a good reason for that. That's because the money wasn't in management anymore for me. And I was tired of sitting there and trying to get mediocre people to do the job of the hard job in the car business to make me money, because the only way that I made money was with them selling cars. So I decided that I'm done with that aspect of it. I was a great manager. I think I was a phenomenal manager, and I would love to be a manager again. But I think really the next step for me is be dealer principal and own my own dealership, where you have a lot more control and you do what you want to do and whatnot. But I definitely would be like a hands-on person. I was never a paper pusher. I always joke with managers today, even back then, that a lot of managers are paper pushers or secretaries. They're babysitters. And you got 10 sales guys, 15 sales guys, whatever, and they're all whining and crying about something, and you have to, as a manager, like, stop. I'm not giving you an internet lead. I don't care if this person's got more internet leads than you. That's the typical stuff. And I was like, I'm just done with that stuff. It's just like I can just go focus on Mike Davenport and just kind of do my own thing, and I'm making more money than most managers do with less. I still work a lot, but I could work less hours, less stress, less responsibility.
You work hard, but I'll tell you what. Today, most managers are desk managers. They're not TO people. They're not motivators. They're desk managers. They're managing a desk. They're managing the numbers. They're not getting up. When I was a manager, I would greet every customer before I was in combat.
Yep.
I mean, I was out there. You folks having a good experience? My salesman doing a good job? Everything. I touched every one of them, and I don't see that today.
Yeah, that's the way I was a manager, and I would be like the first person out on the lot brooming snow off cars, or hey, we need to do a lot rodeo. I'd be the person out there helping them. It just wasn't, here's the keys, go get it done. I'd be out there helping them, and and stuff like that. That's the way I've always been. I've never been like the type of person to delegate something and just go sit in my office and watch it get done. I'm out there, hey, I may just stand in one spot and like, hey, we need this there, this there, this there, but I'm out there part of a team doing it. And again, I it's not everybody, it's not everywhere, it's not always. I try not to use those analogies, because there's always somewhere somebody can sit there and go backwards and prove you wrong when you say those analogies. But it's just it's a normal thing in the automotive industry, and I wish we could change that, and that's probably one drawback of the internet, is made managers desk managers, and not go out there and do TOs, because the consumers are coming in super intelligent nowadays, which I love. I love the consumers being intelligent, but it just makes people weak and lazy. And I can say in some sentences that I'm part of that weak and lazy. If I don't have a customer that I'm calling or doing, I'll sit there and just kind of push things out on the social media and do things and just wait and just sit back and wait for something to happen. It works for me. It may not work for everybody else, but I don't go out on a lot and take it up if I'm slow. I just kind of work my customer base.
When I'm in the office, I'll make 100 outbound phone calls a day.
Yeah, I don't. I wish I did, but I don't. That's probably one of my big weaknesses for 18 years, is that I don't make a whole lot of phone calls. And every day I'm like, I need to get better at this. I need to get better at this. And we talked about Grant Cardone earlier. I spent a lot of money on his making millions on the phone, because it's like, is that my crutch? Is something that could make me be better on the phone. But I'm always striving. That's my one weakness in the car business, is picking up that phone and calling people. Now texting is a different story. I text people all the time. I text all day long. But making that phone call, it's always been something crazy.
I was watching you at the last battle plan, and you were texting continually. I mean, you were listening to the speakers, but you were back there. You were communicating with a whole bunch.
Oh yeah. I had an instance last year. Luckily, people knew me, but I was at a Chevy thing, and I had my computer in front of me, and I'm working and doing things like that. And I was listening, and the presenter's like, "Hey, do you want to shut your computer and listen to me?" And I was like, "No." I started saying something, and somebody got in the back's like, "No." And they said it this way, and I felt so bad. "He's Mike Davenport. He's good." And I'm like, "Oh," I said, "No, don't say that." The guy's name is Blaze, and I'm like, "Blaze, please don't say stuff like that." And I said so, but I said, "Thank you for doing that," because I'm working a car deal right now, so I really did need to be on my computer. But I was listening, and I made sure that, I interact. I'm down like this, just working away, or like this and doing stuff. But if somebody were to say something like, "Yeah, I know the answer to that," and it's just an interesting thing that I can, everybody's like, "You're going to walk into a wall doing this." It's like I know my surroundings. I know what I'm doing.
You're aware of where you're at. I mean, When I said I know 40 salespeople making $40,000 a month, and there's two characteristics every one of those people has. Now, the funny thing about it is, all these people making the big money in the car business, none of them are the same kind of people. Some of them are black, some of them are white, some of them are Hispanic, some of them are men, some of them are women, some are old, some are young, some were born here, some were born somewhere else. They're all kinds of people. But they got two common characteristics. They reach out in the community and generate their own business, and they manage relationships with previous customers. Every salesperson making the big money has those two traits, no matter what their background, their ethnicity, their economic, urban, suburban, whatever. They have those two common traits. And I know people in rural environments making that kind of money that couldn't possibly justify it with that kind of traffic.
Right. Oh yeah. I mean, that's one thing. Great thing about the internet is you can be in a little FE, town in Iowa and make a ton of money. And I tell people all the time. And I had somebody message me today. He's like, "Hey, I'm in Iowa. I'm in a little town. We're only selling 80, 90 cars a month. What can I do?" And that's exactly what I said to him. I said, following up with your customers is huge. Going out into the community and, like what I said, I would kill it in a small town because, number one, everybody in a small town knows you. Everybody in a small town knows your business. Everybody in a small town knows what you're doing. Everybody in a small town watches very closely. And, especially if those 8, 9, and 10 and 15,000 population towns, those are the towns that you can absolutely make a killing in and get the repeat, the referral, following up with people. You go out on a farm in work boots and dressed up, and you go out there and talk to a farmer, dude, it's like, "Hey, let me help you milk a cow." If I walked out there, and I don't know how to milk a cow, but I would walk out there and be like, "Show me how to do it, how to hook up the machine. If I need to sit here and do this, show me how to do it." And I guarantee you I'd earn that guy's respect in business immediately, just like that, because I have the willing and the gumption to do it. Even if I do it wrong, he still will respect me for trying.
You and I know each other well enough to know that it's all about the way you treat the people.
Yep.
You never need to lie or cheat or sneak or deceive or misrepresent to sell cars. Yep. Now I have a strategy. When I'm dealing with a customer, I look at it. The customer's playing chess with me, and they brought the game. I didn't bring the game. They brought the game. I never, ever, ever created a tactic. I only created counter tactics because they bring the tactics. Yep. They left their trade at home. They think that they're afraid. They think they have to do that, So I'll call a customer that I sold 2 years ago. Now, I've got a lot of people in this broadcast, probably more than I've had all day. One thing about salespeople is they always attack the customer every time they call. And that's one of the biggest pieces of advice I have. When you're dealing with a customer, they don't want to hear from you anymore. They bought a car. I didn't want to marry your ass. I bought a car from you. You're calling me. And what do the salesmen say? Who do you know? Can you give me a referral? Anybody in your family? I mean, they're selling. I call people up all the time, and my customers are dealers. Hey, listen, John, and my best line on a follow-up call. Hey, listen, John, I don't have an agenda for this call. I'm not going to try to sell you anything. I just want to see how you're doing. Is the car okay? Are you okay? Whatever. Did your kid get the college he wanted? Did your wife get the promotion? I call up and I don't talk about anything about the business. I start off with that disclaimer.
Yep, that's.
I'm not trying to sell you anything. I have no business agenda. Just want to see how you do.
Yeah, it's amazing that when you do that, and in the phone calls that I do make or the text messages I send out, I did this to the customer the other day. It was a customer I talked to quite a bit, and I just texted him like, "Hey man, what's going on? I haven't heard from you for a while." And I said, "The boys playing baseball. You didn't ask me to sponsor their team this year because I've always sponsored his team. And how's everything going?" He says, "Oh, it's going great. Blah blah blah. And hey, my wife needs to get out of her Honda Pilot. Can you help me with that?" And they bring up the sales process. I don't bring it up.
They bring it up.
Yeah. And I'm not calling. And Mike, I don't usually use that line, which that's a really good line for people who I don't know and who I don't have a relationship with. But typically my customers know that I call and they'd be like, hey, how's the truck doing? Perfect. How's little Billy, doing? Blah blah blah. She eating sports. And I make notes on that stuff and write it down. And lo and behold, the next time I call them, I do the same thing. Well, how's Susie doing? And is she still playing volleyball? Yeah, you remember that, Mike? Like, yeah, I sure do. And that's this type of stuff that sells more cars for you because, and that's not a game or a an act or anything like that. That's just if that's the way you are, be that way. Treat them like you'd call your mom. You wouldn't call your mom up and say, "Hey, mom, who do you know that needs to buy a car?" You wouldn't do that. You would call mom to ask how her life is going and stuff like that. And that's how I've always approached it. And I tagged my old general manager, my old sales manager, and two salespeople that I still talk to this day, 18 years ago when I started in the car business. And I tagged them in the video yesterday because they made a huge impact on my life and in the car business. That they taught me that. They taught me that from day one. And I to this day I look back. If I would not have started with Saturn of Fort Wayne, where would I have been? Because I had a decision to make. Do I start at Saturn of Fort Wayne or do I start at Saturn or Cadillac of Fort Wayne? And I was like, which one do I start? And because Cadillac had a draw against commission, which I had no idea what that meant, and Saturn had a guaranteed salary, that's what I went to Saturn. And if I would have known what draw against commission was, and the more money opportunity at Cadillac, if I'd have chosen that, where I'd be today. So it's just like that one little itty bitty decision could have made and probably did make a huge impact on my career in this business. And that's one thing I learned was just be a human and talk to people and don't sell.
You just said something about you talked to one of your managers from 18 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This week, for the first time, I just talked to one of my managers from 36 years ago.
Wow.
Ken Vargas in Jacksonville. Now, Ken Vargas, believe it or not, is still in the business. And he was my used car manager at Superior Datsun.
Wow.
Notice I didn't say Nissan.
Yeah.
Superior Datsun, which later became Coggin Nissan. And every Saturday, Vargas and I would sit down, and we didn't have CRM. We'd sit there with a pen, and we start circling cars in the want ads in the paper, the classifieds. He said, call these people up. Tell them your manager saw their car in the paper. We want to buy their car for cash. And they're going to say, well, I'm asking $12,000. Well, sir, I don't know about $12,000. All I know is that my manager, Mr. Vargas, pays stupid money, more money than anybody else will pay for this car. If you come by the dealership, we won't waste your time. We'll have you cash offer in 5 minutes. Take it or leave it. Yep. And I was selling one or two cars every Saturday, calling people out of the classifieds. So a couple weeks back, I've got some private groups, and we're not going to name them, but we got some private groups on social media. One of the guys said, hey, he was in a slump. And he said, I can't sell cars. I said, well, I want you to go on Craigslist and offer to buy for cash every Chevy truck that's advertised on Craigslist.
Yep.
It's in your area. Tell them you pay stupid money for it. You pay ridiculous money. Your manager will make them a cash offer. You won't waste their time. You're not going to, and he started selling trucks left and right. So that's a modern day version of what Mr. Vargas and I did 35 years ago.
Yeah, nothing's really changed on how you operate in the car business. The technology around it has changed. So, I got in the car business in 2000, and internet was just barely there. And I was I can't remember who I was talking to, but my wife was right there with me when I was talking, and it's like, he's always branded himself. He is in me. I've always branded myself. When I was at Saturn in 2000, I was the Saturn guy. I had theSaturnGuy.com, and it's like, this is something that was taught to me and was done from day one. So, and it's funny watching some of these guys, because I see a lot of people out there. It's like, hey, I need to come up with a tagline. I need to brand myself. And it's like, listen, you don't have to brand yourself. Your name is your best asset. But the issue comes in line is my two names, Saturn Guy and Chevy Dude, were given to me by customers. It was organically made up. It was not something that was like, I'm going to think this up. I just used my name, and Mike is a very common name. So Davenport isn't so much a common name, but everybody calls me Davenport anyways. But the fact of it is these stuff came organically, and I'm just going to roll with it, and hey, I'm here to see the Saturn Guy. You could be the car man, you could be the car woman, you could be the car guru, you could be your car guy, whatever the case may be. But the fact of it is, one thing that never changes is your name, and if I went to sold Nissans tomorrow or Hyundais, I wouldn't be the Nissan guy or the Nissan dude. I would just be Mike Davenport, and unless something came up that a customer saved me in their phone or gave me an idea to change that.
Well, you finally arrive when you no longer have to introduce yourself.
Yeah, that's my goal. I don't have to introduce myself, but that's a goal.
And you, like me, and you, Davenport, yep. I'm known by one name.
Yep.
Nobody says, "Hey, Jim Ziegler." What do they say?
Yep, Ziegler, off a dog. Right there.
Usher, Cher, just the same difference.
Yep.
So you're using a lot of social media. Tell me about some of your dark posts. You were using those a while back. You still doing it?
I'm not doing as much as I'm probably going to start doing it again. I do that when I'm slow to try to build business up, build stuff up. And I use Tecobi a lot, and he's a phenomenal guy. So I use those to get the internet.
Jason Girdner.
Yeah, Jason's
awesome. Jason's speaking at my Internet Battle Plan.
Yes, he is. Yep.
So we've got Internet Battle Plan coming up in February, which is part of the reason I hope people are watching this broadcast so they can. You're not speaking this time. You basically asked me to lay out, but I didn't.
Yeah, yeah, I know. People asked. I had a couple people contact. Are you speaking about plan? We got plans and stuff like that. But no, when I do a dark post, I pretty much do what you just said on Craigslist. Hey, listen, save my used car manager a trip to the auction. I'll buy your vehicle cash. It takes me 5 minutes, but you can do it through a text message. Just click whatever my call to action is, learn more, whatever the case may be. And with Tecobi, I get that text message right away, and I'm like, what do you got? Shoot me the VIN, shoot me a couple pictures, and I say, hey, give me 5 minutes, I'll give you a price on it. And I pull your old cardboard trick. Well, that's a cash price. If you want to buy something, maybe I can give you a little bit more, and that gets me the leads in and gets me stuff in, and I don't have to use an allowance to build my business. But I'm like, listen, hey, I might be holding $500 on the trade, but I was like, listen, if I could see it, I might be able to get him to do a little bit more. When can you be in? Because ultimately we can get as many leads as we want, but what's the number one goal of this thing right here? This is one tool to use for one thing, and that's to get people in the door. We don't need to sell cars over it. We don't need to give all these facts. We still have to give facts with the internet nowadays, but this is used for one tool, and that's to set appointments. And that's what we have to remember in 2018, that we still have to go back to 1988 and still know that this is to use to set
appointments. Great advice. Set appointments. Get them in. I see people. They're doing the limbo. They're trying to see how low they can go on the phone or on the keyboard.
Yep.
I developed a great word track recently that's just a killer. Have you ever had a customer on the phone? You give them all the money you're going to give them, and they say, "Is that your best price?"
I always say
what?
I always say yes. What's your word track?
You ready?
Yeah.
Is that your best price? Oh, heavens, no, sir. There's certainly a better price available. That's the lowest price we're legally allowed or our management will allow us to give on the telephone.
Yeah. Like, I can go up.
There's a better price available, but that's the lowest price we're legally allowed to quote. We got manufacturers they're really watching what we do here.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, trust me. I'm watched heavily, and my GM rep, who I've got great relationships with, is like, yeah, you shared this, and you probably shouldn't have shared that, because I got a call from Mark Royce or somebody like that. I'm like, oh, okay, I'll tone it down a little bit.
Mark Royce, okay?
Yeah.
The San Francisco convention, I'm going to say it was 5 years ago when Royce was president of GM. Yeah, he's back in parts and service now, right?
No, he's like number 2 or number 3 in GM.
Okay. He was president of GM about 5 years ago. We had the convention in San Francisco, and my wife and I were staying across in the Marriott. So my wife sends me down to get Starbucks at like 6 o'clock in the morning. I look, and there's Mark Royce sitting on a cushion with nobody sitting around him. It might have been more than 5 years ago. It might have been 7 years ago. But anyway, Royce is sitting there all by himself. So I got my wife Starbucks. I said, hey, Mark, would you like a Starbucks? I gave my wife Starbucks. I sat down beside him. We started having a conversation. And I said, you guys at General Motors have screwed up every piece of brand equity you ever had. You put classic name plates on crappy cars. You got a couple pieces of brand equity left. Don't blow it. He said, like what? I said, Stingray. You need to bring back the name Stingray.
Yep.
And sure enough, they did.
Yep.
And same thing with the Dodge Challenger. What's that?
But it's been a great name for the Corvette.
It's been a great name. And I talked to him, and I take full responsibility for bullying General Motors into bringing that name back. And then the Germans, when the Germans owned Chrysler, Dieter Zetch and all the Mercedes people owned Chrysler, they called me to Auburn Hills, and they sat me on a bar stool and had all the Germans around me and American executives too. And they were asking me questions. They paid my full consulting fee just to ask me questions, like a real fun day. And I said, well, there was a car back in the 70s called the Hemi Cuda. And it was a real hot seller. Ford's coming up with the retro Mustang and General Motors coming up with the retro Camaro. You guys need to do it. We don't do retro cars. Oh, well, wait a minute now, guys. You don't understand. Well, we don't do that. And we don't build the Plymouth product anymore. Okay, well, there was a Dodge version called the Challenger, the Dodge Hemi Challenger. You got the new Hemi engine? The Dodge, we don't do retro cars. I said, look, pal, you guys were wearing little leather shorts and kicking soccer balls and shit. We were driving these things around hamburger stands. And they never admitted, but within 2 years, they announced that they were going to reintroduce the Challenger.
Yep.
Isn't that amazing? What other tips would you give people as we get off this broadcast? What are you thinking?
I think the biggest thing is the old saying is you got 2 of these and 1 of these, use them accordingly, and just listen to customers, and it's something that you've brought up at Battle Plan that when you bought your Ford that you
Ford.
that you bought that and you wanted to get a simple oil change, and you couldn't get anybody to answer the phone, and so so I sat there and we have the same problem at our dealership. It's an industry wide thing. It's not isolated to one dealership. It's not isolated to one brand. It's industry wide. Not enough people. More customers wanting to do business. Not enough people to answer phones and stuff like that. And I just listened to my customers, and I finally convinced our company to invest into another company to do online scheduling for appointments. And so, I push out to all my customers, like, don't ever call the dealership again. Call me or use my app and schedule your service appointment through there. And I still have people call me, but I used to sit there and and just set up something on my website, schedule your service appointment, and I would get an email, and I'd have to manually go back to the service department and say, hey, this person wants to come in. What day can they come in? Okay, perfect. And I would email them back, like, hey, I got you an appointment set up for Monday at 2:15 p.m. Do you need a loaner car? Yes. Okay, perfect. I've got that all set up already too. And and that's how I did it. So now this makes it a little bit easier with X time. But that's the biggest thing, is just listen to people. And it doesn't matter if it's before the sale, during the sale, after the sale, or it doesn't matter if it's any of those things. Just listen, and that goes such a long way. And it goes back to just selling from the heart and working, just coming into the business every day and just doing something good for somebody and just trying to help somebody make their life a little bit easier. And that's what I've always done in the car business. Is that's why I branded and trademarked buying a car doesn't have to suck, because I'm just trying to get the point out to people that buying a car
doesn't have to suck.
Yeah. So it's awesome, and I got the trademark thing sitting on my desk, and they're like, is that real? I'm like, yeah, it's real. I said, you can look it up on trademark, you can look it up on the trademark on the trademark search on the government's website. It
costs what, $50 to do a trademark?
Oh, I wish it was $50. That's just maybe just a filing fee. I think I ended up spending $1,000 with an attorney and everything like that, because you got to.
Well, you went through an attorney. We did our own paperwork. I had a couple trademarks for. I was trademarked for Demand, DAMAN.
Yeah.
That trade worked for a while. So anybody say you demand, no, they were lying. I'm Demand.
Yeah. So I just like, and that's a tool that helps me. And I throw that back. You talked about earlier of you don't have to be combative, just react. And I'm like, listen, do you see that? I said, buying a car doesn't have to suck. It doesn't have to suck for you or me either. So the faster you say yes, the faster this process gets done. And they'll laugh and they'll joke, and and just having fun selling cars. Customer says, hey, well, we need to sleep on it. I'm like, oh, hold on. Do you not know about our company policy here? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you can't sleep on our cars. That's a company policy. Once you own it, you can sleep on it, sleep in it, sleep under it. I don't care. And they just start laughing, and stuff like that. So, and it's just
people don't think about it.
Yeah.
I've heard them say, look, I want your best price, and I don't want that back and forth crap between you and the manager.
Yeah.
Well, are you paying full sticker price? No. Then you just created some back and forth shit.
Yeah. I was like, well, you give them the best price, and then they're like, well, that's too high. I'm like, well, what do you want to do now? Because I'm not going to go back and forth. And believe it or not, I sell a lot of cars that way. It's like, you told me to come out here with my best price. I did. I said, and then I'll point to my buying a car doesn't have to suck. I'm like, buying a car doesn't have to suck. I listened to exactly what you said. I know this is not normal. I know car people don't listen. I said, but I'm not a normal car person. I do listen to what you say. I did exactly what you said, so I just need your autograph right here. Boom, close them down, and it's amazing how many times people will do that, and I just throw that back onto them. It's like, I listened to you, and I sit there and tell somebody, they come in like, hey, listen, I want to spend $10,000, or whatever the case may be. I'm like, listen, I heard what you said. I listened to what you said. At $10,000, I know the typical car salesman is going to start showing you $15,000 and $20,000 cars, but this car is got half the miles of every car under $10,000, and it's $800 more. So would you be interested in that? And when you approach it that way, they're like, oh yeah, for $800, I'll definitely go half the miles, And even if you have to go look at those other cars that have double the miles, they'll still come back to that one there because they just wanted to see it for themselves. And that's just, I was taught again back in the day is like, who gets paid more, entertainers or teachers? And, just entertain your customers, have fun. We don't have to be all tight and, walking around stiff leg, just goof around. I mean, the old adage in the car business is don't ever talk to somebody else's customers. Well, we don't approach that here. It's like, we'll yell at somebody. I'll yell 2 doors down. I was like, hey, come down here. I'll get you a $50 better deal. We'll do stuff like that. And we're just joking around. And it lightens the mood for the customer. And the next thing you know, the customer's like, well, he's going to give me a $50 better deal, and stuff like that. But when you say something so small, they don't expect a huge discount, because it's just like being a little psychology with the customers, and they've already done the research. They already know they're getting a good deal because they're looking at TrueCar and Cars.com and Car Gurus and all these websites. They already know this stuff. You just have to sit there and implement it back into their thought process of all the research they've done, which is why I like Battle Plan, why I like Digital Dealer, why I like all these things, because it's taught me what the what customers are doing, that they're 45 to 90 days of shopping. They're form filling 6 cars. They're visiting 1.2 dealerships. When they walk into the dealership, they're within 3 days of purchasing. All this stuff, and it allows you to interact with them that way and just be on your game when it's time. So that's the biggest thing, is just listening, and just knowing the facts of a car deal.
It's amazing you would say that you're yelling at other customers. And I was in Hendersonville, Kentucky a couple years back, or Hendersonville, North Carolina, and I got on the intercom. Where's Rebecca Higgins? I'm right over here. She sticks her head up above the dividers, and I said, that car's not worth that much. And she starts yelling across the showroom floor, and I'm talking. The service manager comes up from the back. What the hell's going on up here? I'm negotiating with this old woman on the intercom system.
Just having fun, right?
Yeah, having fun. And to this day, that woman still goes back to that dealership. Where's that crazy guy that? And she remembered that.
I mean, we do awards here, and we internally we have a lot of fun, but we do awards like Best Dressed and Crybaby of the Year, and mostly, this year we added one, most likely to get punched in the face by a coworker, and the biggest one, which is I started a recipient, Asshole of the Year.
You did not.
We have a bobblehead with a donkey on it with a butt that shakes. It's hilarious. And
wait, you got a bobble. Do you have a Mike Davenport bobblehead?
No, I don't.
I have a Ziegler bobblehead.
I've thought about buying a bobblehead with Mike Davenport, but I haven't.
I have a Ziegler bobblehead. I've only got about 10 of them left, but we ordered 5,000 of them originally to show you how many of them are out there.
I'm my Chevy Dude Cokes. So with YouTube, you can like sell shirts and stuff like that, and I have a really good merchandise line that I sell to people who follow me on YouTube. Well, my Chevy Dude Cokes, I'm going to start selling them on YouTube, and with an autograph. I'm going to tell them I'll autograph a note to them as well, and so I'm going to start selling those on YouTube, and it's pretty sweet. I should be able to make some really good money off of that. To the left, there you go. That's awesome.
There's a little crooked there. my half a dog bobblehead.
Awesome. I love it.
Is that cool or what? They're not that expensive if you have a bulk. You buy it in bulk.
Right. Yeah. That's why I buy like 300 Chevy Dude Cokes at a time in Coke, which is down in Atlanta. They give me a pretty good deal when I buy them in bulk like that.
Amazing. We got a car salesman who has his own clothing line for other car salesmen.
Well, it's for the YouTube fans. It's just an American flag with my Camaro on it, and on the back it says, subscribe to Chevy Dude YouTube channel.
Well, Mike, I could talk to you forever. We've been friends for what, 4 years now?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Yeah. And I hold you in the utmost respect. I hope the audience check in on the sidebar over here. Who's listening to this broadcast? What do you think of what we've done here? Give me some props on the sidebar over here. Wow, we got a lot of people in this broadcast.
Yeah, there's 15 live right now, but there's a lot more than that.
Well, I'll tell you what will happen with this broadcast is when we get off, we'll get 600-700 views.
Oh yeah, easy. There might be that already. Just crazy.
Well, listen, Mike, you're loved and appreciated, and thanks for giving me your time.
No, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I did an 1.5-hour broadcast the other night, and 3,900 people were on that broadcast in 90 minutes. It was crazy. And I was just kind of sitting here by myself, just talking and interacting with people and stuff like that. And it was really cool and really exciting to see that type of following that I had. And I think that video's, close to 5,000 or so now after the fact, but it's really cool that I got that type of following and Fahim, and so hopefully I said his name right. He says, this is an insightful conversation, I like the ideas, and and that stuff is like really inspiring to me and really helpful because just I got in the business, to make a difference. So I love hearing things from people like that. So no, I really appreciate the opportunity of being on with you. And as we said earlier, we're great friends. And I'm going to talk about this later, Jerry. Pay attention. But I appreciate the opportunity. It's really fun for me.
Well, listen, I appreciate you. I'm going to sign this off.
All right.
Anything you want to say to anybody? We'll tell them to go to internetbattleplan.com, internetbattleplan.com.
Yep.
Hey, Fahim, if you're still out there, internetbattleplan.com. Type Joe Thistle, type it inside with Fahim. Internetbattleplan.com. Take care, guys.